Hello, welcome. I'm Haley Kim, a working mom of two, sharing family meal and motherhood content. If that sounds interesting to you, please like and subscribe to follow along. This week I'm going to be making some of my favorite family go-to meals. I'm going to start out with a pot roast, which I usually like to make on the weekends. It's something a little bit special that doesn't take too much time in the kitchen. I just like to season it with some salt and pepper on all sides and then fry it up. I feel like this is a great way to get meats, like yummy, delicious meat, that into our diet without having to pay a fortune for it. This is a pretty good quality one from Whole Foods. I'm doing a boneless beef chuck roast, 2.5 pounds for around $25. I like to pair this with some scalloped potatoes and then do like a Caesar salad with it. I don't know if I'll get to that, but we'll see. I like to start the roast right after lunch and just sear on all sides with tallow oil. It's got a high smoke point, not chemically processed, and is anti-inflammatory, and it just really tastes great with meat and like potatoes. I let some of the onions and garlic fry a few minutes at the same time as the meat, and then take them out and add it back into the beef stock to give extra flavor. That beef stock should go about 3/4 of the way up the meat, and then I just roast it for 1.5 hours covered, add in a lot of carrots because my kids love them, and then roast for another hour. It's so good, a crowd pleaser, and it just really requires very minimal effort. I usually start the scalloped potatoes right after, as they take forever to cool down to a temperature my boys will accept. The trick is to pick potatoes here that are around the same size and slice them evenly. Once they're cut up, I just make the sauce. It's about 1/4 cup of flour whisked into a few tablespoons of melted butter. Then I add 2 cups of milk and combine, a cup of stock and combine, a little bit of salt and pepper, some dried rosemary and thyme here, or whatever you have on hand or prefer. While that's simmering and thickening for about 10 minutes, I just decided to cut up some strawberries. The boys were outside really sweating. My son loves cutting the grass with his dad, but needs to wear his headphones as it's too loud. I wanted to make them something a little special. I was planning on strawberry shortcake as a treat, but I was short on time, so just making strawberries and whipped cream. I like letting the strawberries soak for a few hours in some coconut sugar to make it a little bit more of a treat. By this time, the sauce for the potatoes has thickened, so I throw in the sliced potato and some very thinly sliced onion and combine. You should add the garlic into the sauce while cooking, but I completely forgot, so just added the minced garlic now. Then I layer it into a casserole dish. I find it so much prettier vertically, but you can totally do it with 2 layers horizontally, and that would be better if your potatoes are not all the same size. I cover it to cook in our toaster oven for 1 hour. Then I add cheese on top and cook uncovered another 15 to 20 minutes or until slightly browned. These are a great option when I feel like we've had a little too many mashed potatoes lately. The roast makes the house smell so good in the afternoon. I like to discard any remaining fat on the meat and shred. If we don't use all the meat, I like to add it to like cheese quesadillas the next day, but there's usually not a lot left. It's really such an easy but impressive meal, especially if you have time to add a salad to it. While it's cooling down a bit, I like to make the whipped cream for dessert, so it's ready right after we're done eating. I just use heavy whipping cream, maple syrup, and a pinch of salt. Whisk for about 1 minute on low and then 2 to 3 minutes on a higher speed, and it's done. It's so easy. If you only have a hand mixer, it will take a little bit more time. I added the sugared strawberries and whipped cream to like just a fancy cup, and my family enjoyed it. My son was so excited, and I don't think they missed the shortbread at all. Next is homemade sourdough pizza. Delicious, filling, and so versatile. My kids really eat so much more when it's homemade too. At night, I always try to do a little bit of food prep. I like some candles, have some tea, have a show in the background, and really try to enjoy making something when it's peaceful. The sourdough crust is so easy. It's just fed starter, salt, whole wheat flour, all-purpose flour, and water. While mixing it, I realized I should mix the wet ingredients first and then add the flour to make mixing easier, kind of the same way I do normal sourdough bread, but I'll do that next time. I set it out overnight and do a few stretch and folds in the morning and then set it in the fridge until I need to use it in the afternoon. I find this pizza is so good to have more towards the end of the week to use up any leftover veggies, mushrooms, spinach, kale, onions, tomatoes, really anything would go well. My son loves to help me cut vegetable these days, and yes, while it definitely takes more time, I've started to actually find it quite nice to have a little partner in the kitchen now. He's always so proud and seems more excited to eat the meal when he's had a hand in it. Plus here, these veggies ended up being his afternoon snack, which he would normally never just eat veggies as an afternoon snack. And I've found out that he really only likes bell peppers raw. Like, he doesn't really like them cooked, but now he really likes them raw from this. So you never know what you learn when you just let them get involved. While lightly sauteing the veggies, I got the dough out and cut it into 4 pieces and saved 2 for later. The trick here is to really get enough flour on the dough so they don't stick to the plastic bag. We were leaving for the beach the next day and I brought these along, which allowed for a quick and healthy dinner the next night instead of having to get takeout, which I love, or you can freeze them and take them out later. Now I really like to use Rao's pasta sauce. It's not homemade, but it's healthy option and no additives, tastes good when time's limited. In another video I'll link here, I saved some white sauce and ground sausage for making lasagna and used it in a pizza the next night, and it was so good and a nice way to switch up this recipe. I use a cast iron on like a medium heat to cook this, and while cooking it I add all the toppings and then just check to see if the bottom has turned lightly brown. Usually takes around 4 minutes, and then put it in the oven to broil for around 2 to 3 minutes, and then voila, it is done. They always look and smell so good coming out of the oven. I clean my cast iron immediately by dumping water in it while it's really hot and then wiping it out with a small cloth. This means very little cleanup after dinner, which is fantastic. The last go-to family meal is Hawaiian meatballs and rice. I use a rice cooker, so it's really only a 1 casserole dish, making the whole process super simple. I'll link the recipe I loosely follow, but the sauce is coconut sugar, ketchup, always remember to use the kind without corn syrup, and coconut aminos. I found my family likes it more if I use more ketchup and less of the coconut aminos, and then I just add in some apple cider vinegar and pineapple juice. I do save the pineapples to serve on the side, and sometimes I don't have a can of pure canned pineapples, so I just use orange juice instead, and it turns out just fine. Meatballs are made with ground beef, egg, a little almond flour, chicken broth, and seasoned with garlic and onion powder, plus a little salt and pepper. I like the idea of using a more nutrient-dense filler like this almond flour, and have tried to do that in more recipes lately. I then just dice up and add in 2 bell peppers, pour in the sauce and roast for 20 minutes. Then the broccoli goes in and let it cook for another 20 minutes and it's done. So simple. Even my baby really likes this recipe, and for him I just try to rinse some of the sauce off because it is a little strong. It's one of the only ways I find my kids really eat meatballs. Maybe it's all the ketchup, I don't know, but it's good. This is such an easy, tasty, and nutritious weeknight meal that you really should try to add into your meal rotation.